Now at 5, lightning sparks a house fire near Carthage. We'll look at whether the storms are over. Plus, why egg prices are so high and what we should expect next. And
the Biden administration is trying to crack down on so-called ghost guns. I'm Deborah Alfarone at the White House with the proposed regulations and their potential effects on gun violence.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Parts of the area have dealt with a lot of rain, but it's mostly over for now. This is KOAM News at 5. Let's go to meteorologist Doug Heddy for the latest.
Yeah, we had tons of rain, especially along and south of the I-44 corridor last night. A lot of areas picked up 3, 4, 5 inches of rain with bands of showers and thunderstorms. A lot of hail across the region. Most of these were low-grade severe storms, but just a lot of rain. Look at the heavy stripe. So anywhere you're seeing the yellows, oranges, and reds, we're talking 3, 4, 5, upwards to 6 inches of rain. So a lot of rain. That's why we had some flash flooding issues late last night into the morning hours. All severe weather has shifted south for tonight, but we are going to get a severe weather threat returning for us tomorrow into Wednesday. Temperatures, not bad. Most of us are sitting kind of low to mid 60s. Through the evening hours, we'll drop back into the 50s. I think overnight lows near 50 degrees. Of course, we'll break down additional thunderstorm threats here in just a bit.
See you then. A lightning strike is blamed for this house fire at a home on Highway 96 east of Carthage early today. Complicating things, high winds fueling the fire. Firefighters got it under control in just over an hour, and there were no reports of injuries. Some Webb City motorists have to detour for now. A bridge is washed out on West 7th Street between Chesterfield Street and Lakeview Street. The police department says it'll remain closed until further notice. A funeral procession this afternoon accompanied the body of a former Joplin police officer who died of a heart attack last week. Officer Michael Gaiman served with the Joplin Police Department from 1999 to 2019. A public funeral service in Oronogo, Missouri this afternoon was followed by a private burial at Mount Hope Cemetery in Webb City. April is Donate for Life Month. It honors those who've donated life-saving organs and acknowledges those still waiting for a transplant. Rowan Reeves from Joplin received a heart transplant 4 years ago and is still doing well.
He will do something with music, absolutely. As far as his second chance at life, I mean, he has been given a huge opportunity, and he is thriving so wonderfully.
Freeman Health System and Mercy Hospital Joplin, along with Midwest Transplant Network, will have a celebration of life tomorrow, honoring those whose donation gave life to another. President Biden and his Justice Department today announced new executive regulations to address homemade weapons known as ghost guns. The goal is to classify them the same as regular firearms. The President also introduced his pick to lead the federal agency charged with enforcing gun laws and requirements. Deborah Alfarone has more from the White House.
From the Rose Garden at the White House, President Biden proposed new rules to regulate the manufacture and sale of ghost guns.
This is the gun. It's not hard to put together.
Ghost guns are homemade firearms that can be assembled using a 3D printer or with kits purchased online. They lack serial numbers, which makes it impossible for law enforcement to trace. The new proposed rules would require gun makers to include serial numbers, be federally licensed, run background checks, and keep purchase records as long as they are in business.
Because of these updates, law enforcement will have additional crime gun intelligence to stop gun violence.
At the announcement were gun violence victims' families and survivors like Mia Tretta. She survived a 2019 ghost gun shooting at her Santa Clarita, California high school, but she lost her best friend.
Nothing has relieved the pain in my heart like working to prevent more senseless shootings.
The new regulations are likely to face lawsuits from manufacturers and gun rights groups. Monday, the president also announced the nomination of Steve Dettelbach to the head of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, or ATF. President Biden nominated the former Ohio U.S. attorney after he pulled his previous nominee due to bipartisan concerns from lawmakers.
I promise to support the men and the women of the ATF and to do everything in our power to protect the people of this nation every single day.
If confirmed, Dettelbach would become the first permanent ATF director in 7 years. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, the White House.
The White House continues to call on Congress to pass gun legislation. That's not likely to happen in the equally divided U.S. Senate, where some Republican lawmakers have already come out against the president's new ghost gun rules. The mayor of the Ukrainian port city of Mariupol says that more than 10,000 civilians have died in the Russian siege of his city, and that the full death toll could surpass twice that number. The mayor, Vadim Bochenko, today said corpses carpeted the streets of the city. He said Russian forces brought mobile cremation equipment to the city to dispose of the bodies, and accused Russian forces of refusing to allow humanitarian convoys in the city in an attempt to disguise the carnage. Just ahead, health officials monitor an uptick in COVID cases and the possible health impact of starting school at a later time. Those stories in Health Watch. Topping today's Health Watch, federal and local officials are monitoring what they're characterizing as an uptick in COVID-19 infections in some parts of the country, but they say the rise is no cause for alarm. New York, Philadelphia, and other parts of the Northeast are seeing a spike in cases driven mostly by the new BA2 subvariant. However, hospitalizations remain low. A new international study finds children older than 5 are at a higher risk of COVID-related multisystem inflammatory syndrome. Symptoms include fever for at least 3 days, inflammation, gastrointestinal problems, and blood clotting issues. Children ages 6 to 17 at a higher risk of admission to the ICU than kids 5 years and younger. It's not easy getting teenagers up and out the door for school in the morning. A lot of parents know that already. That's why a lot of experts have been advocating for years for later school start times. Well, now research suggests starting the day later can have big benefits for the whole family, including mom and dad. Bradley Blackburn has more.
High school teacher Kelly Osuna and her 2 teen sons have busy mornings getting ready for the day, but they say it's been much less stressful since their school began starting classes later.
Prior to the time change, I had to get them into before care and then have enough time to get back to my job by 7. So we were leaving the house at the very latest by 6:15.
Health experts say early school start times can impact teens' learning and increase risks for obesity and depression. Now, research from National Jewish Health looks at how moving start times later can be good for the whole family. Researchers partnered with a large district near Denver, adjusting middle and high school start times 50 to 70 minutes later.
What we found was that these parents were reporting later wake times similar to their students and an increase in the amount of sleep that they were obtaining.
Dr. Lisa Meltzer authored the study, which also found fewer parents reported feeling tired during the day.
Researchers say many middle and high schools begin too early. Only about 20% of U.S. high schools start at or after 8:30 a.m.
That's the time recommended by the American Academy of Pediatrics.
Sleep is important for every aspect of functioning.
Osuna is grateful to be getting more sleep. She now gets up at the time she used to leave the house.
I noticed such a huge difference just in my mood and my affects when I do get in front of students in the morning, or even the time that I'm with my children in the morning.
And as an educator and mom, she says it's a great way to start the day. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News.
As part of the study, elementary schools started an hour earlier to accommodate the time changes for the middle and high schools. Researchers found parents of the elementary students maintained their sleep habits, moving bedtimes and wake-up times slightly earlier. Chilling in front of your TV might have you more stressed. New research finds viewers are overwhelmed with all of the streaming choices out there. A study by Nielsen found that 46% of subscribers are stressed out by all the titles they have available. Healthy plant-based diets may lower the risk of developing diabetes. That's according to Harvard researchers who studied more than 10,000 participants and found those who developed type 2 diabetes had a lower intake of healthy plant-based foods. They were also more likely to have high blood pressure and cholesterol and be less active. And that is a look at today's health news. A little bit later, what's behind the rising cost of eggs and what we should expect next.
Plus, we still have more thunderstorms in the forecast, really almost every day this week. We'll look at that coming up. Well, of course, we had the showers. We had the thunderstorms, severe weather for us last night into the morning hours, and then just periods of thunderstorms for us today. A lot of rain in most locations since midnight, almost 2 inches at the Joplin Airport, but we had about 2 inches prior to that, 2.5 inches right before midnight last night. So this storm system, especially along the I-44 corridor, produced 4, 5, some areas 6 inches of rain. For the year, about 10.25, average is 8.5, so we're a little bit above that mark. Still a lot of clouds, but we have gotten some sunshine in here throughout the afternoon. Nice shot, Indigo Sky Casino and Resort, of course. Indigo is just outside of Seneca, Missouri. Temps a little bit cooler. So with the storms last night and this morning, a front has slipped through. So we have northeasterly winds. It's not bad, but it's cooler. Low to mid 60s and then pressing 70 in our western counties where you are getting a little bit more sunshine, a little bit out there at 7th and Range Line. Sitting at 63, humidity is at 78%. Through the evening hours, we slip back through the 50s. I think we'll drop back near 50, probably midnight to 2 a.m. and then we'll start to rise. So by morning, we'll be sitting about 60 degrees across the region. All right, thunderstorms for us last night. All of these are now rolling off toward the east. So most of us are looking pretty good. We still have a couple little isolated guys in our far southern counties, and we can't rule 1 or 2 out in our southern counties through the overnight hours. But everybody else, we look pretty quiet. All the big action now has shifted south. You can see tornado warnings near Fort Smith. So eastern Oklahoma, central parts of Arkansas. So this is where the severe weather is going to stay for tonight, but the threat returns tomorrow. So an elevated threat on the Kansas and the Oklahoma side, and I think this is a little bit high. The reason is we have a cap in place, warm layer of air, and thunderstorms have a hard time getting through that cap. Most likely the cap's not going to break. So most likely most of us will stay dry tomorrow. However, if it does happen to break, we're going to get some tornadic activity on the Kansas and the Oklahoma side tomorrow evening. Again, I'm leaning toward it does not break, but something we want to watch. So severe weather threat tomorrow evening, most of us dry, and then late tomorrow night. But I'm going to keep all the threats on the low side. Everything shifts east on Wednesday. We still have a threat during the morning hours. I'm going to keep all the threats low, but from 5 a.m. until about 1 p.m., and then everything will shift east by the time we head into Wednesday afternoon. So let's go through time here. For the evening hours, overnight hours tonight, we look okay. Temperatures lower 50s, a lot of mid and upper level clouds throughout the daytime hours tomorrow. But look at our temps. We soar into the 80s for highs, 74 by noon, high temp of 81. That cap is trying to break. Maybe 1 or 2 little storms pop up, but most of us are going to stay dry all the way through the overnight hours. Then we'll watch this line, which will weaken as it pushes in Wednesday morning and then intensify as it passes through. So a lot of us, we may get lucky and get the severe weather kind of rotating around the region, but something we want to watch very closely over the next 48 hours. 81 tomorrow, 62 Wednesday. Thursday looks good. More thunderstorms in here late Friday into Saturday, late Easter into Monday.
A lot to keep an eye on this week, and I know you and the weather team will do just that.
We will do it.
Thanks, Doug. Hey, when severe weather strikes, you're going to want to stay informed. You can do that by scanning this QR code. It'll take you to the KOAM News Now YouTube page, where our weather team is going to live stream during severe weather events to give you updated information. While you're there, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. Coming up, the rising price of eggs. First, though, we honor a local veteran. Richards, Missouri native Earl Rogers served in the U.S. Navy in 1945 and 46. And we are proud to salute Seaman Earl Rogers, a four-state hero. Topping today's Consumer Watch, Russia's war against Ukraine is having a devastating consequence on both countries' economies. The World Bank says Ukraine's GDP will contract by 45% this year. Russia's by 11%. The Washington-based group says the fallout will also hit emerging market and developing countries in the Europe and Central Asia region. Amazon is pushing back after a historic union victory at one of its warehouses. The e-commerce giant, which has long been anti-union, claims in a legal filing organizers and the National Labor Relations Board tainted the results. Amazon lists more than 24 objections. An attorney representing the unionizing group calls the allegations absurd. You might want to start your Easter egg hunt early in the grocery store aisles. The cost of eggs continues to take wing, rising higher from inflation, an overseas war, and now a bird flu outbreak. Kate Smith reports.
Uptown Bar and Grill in Waverly, Minnesota cracks open 400 eggs a week, and prices are sizzling.
It's not just the eggs, but the eggs were extreme. It went from 8 cents an egg to 26 cents an egg.
Trade analysts say wholesale prices in March climbed to $3.01 a dozen. And ahead of the Easter holiday, many shoppers are seeing an uptick too. According to the USDA, the current average price for a dozen grade A white eggs is $1.66, up from $1.08 this time last year.
What are some of the factors that are causing egg prices to go up?
Certainly inflation is a part of the overall picture. Feed costs are up, as you know. Primarily, I would say the bird flu is probably the biggest influence in the recent price spike that we've seen.
An avian influenza outbreak has forced farmers to cull millions of chickens and turkeys. The USDA has confirmed cases of avian influenza in at least 26 states, impacting everything from farms to food banks.
We got an email from our supplier that they were no longer able to supply us with those eggs.
The owners of Uptown Bar and Grill hatched a plan to keep costs down, now sourcing their eggs from farmers in the community.
Anything we can do to help support the community and in
turn they help support us.
Yeah, because they help support us.
Industry experts are watching the next few weeks to see if warmer weather may help slow or stop the spread of bird flu and coax egg prices back down. Kate Smith, CBS News, New York.
The Kansas Department of Agriculture has identified avian influenza in a commercial turkey flock in Mcpherson County, the central part of Kansas. For now, the American Egg Board says about 4% of American hens have been impacted by the bird flu. Despite that, the trade group says they are not expecting any egg shortages, especially for the upcoming Easter holiday. JetBlue is reducing the number of flights it's offering throughout the summer, unable to keep up with demand amid a labor shortage. The company was forced to cancel more than 300 flights this weekend because of lingering delays caused by last week's weather in the southeast. After 2 years of staycations, Americans are still cautious about splurging on summer. According to a new report from creditcards.com, 47% of adults are not planning to increase spending on non-essential items for at least another 6 months, and that includes travel and dining out. But Gen Z is ready to splurge with plans to boost summer spending. Final check of the forecast up next.
Service 5.
Up next on the CBS Evening News, a son performs his father's song of peace for the people of Ukraine. Then on KOAM News at 6, authorities say a Kansas City apartment fire that sent 15 people to the hospital was intentionally set. Plus, new lawsuits against a Southwest Missouri boarding school. And the Colgan Panthers and Baxter Springs Lions meet tonight for an early season CNC baseball showdown. Stay with us. CBS Evening News, then KOAM News at 6. All right, look at what a New Jersey police officer encountered. It's an assault case, kind of. It's a bull assaulting a mailbox. The bull had apparently pushed its way out of its pen and seemed to have a little pent-up aggression. Eventually, as you see, the bull wins. Even though damaging a mailbox is considered a felony offense, this guy is not going back to the pen. He's been relocated to a sanctuary.
Well, he got away with one there, didn't he?
I guess. People sometimes get upset about, the bills coming in the mailbox. I'm not sure what the bull's excuse is.
Who knows?
Hope he's feeling better now.
Yeah.
The weather.
Looks pretty good for the evening and the overnight hours tonight. Tomorrow it's going to be warm. It's going to be windy. We do have to watch for a few thunderstorms trying to get going by the evening hours. A line of storms will work in late tomorrow night into Wednesday morning. More thunderstorms toward the weekend.
Thanks for joining us. The CBS Evening News is next. And of course, we're going to be right back here for KOAM News at 6. See you then. Let's make it a great evening.